Okay. Uh, um. W- wow. Okay. Hello. Um. All right. I should give some context as to what's currently happening. So at the time of this recording, it is 11:34 at night. On the 24th of March, 2022, which will ever go down as the day that Platinum End made the entire anime community collectively go, "What the fuck did I just watch?" Oh boy, I haven't felt the need to do this in a while. I do this every now and again where like a normal anime I'm watching, I mean this was anything but normal, will just leave me so fucking dumbfounded or just awestruck that I just feel that need to immediately get it out there. And Platinum End has made me feel many things over these 24 weeks, like contempt, confusion, lack of faith in my own decision making on what TV shows to watch. And I'll say this much, even when it was fucking insanely boring, which, make no mistake, this show was so fucking hard to get through at times. At least it was bad in a fascinating way. I don't even know where to go, and I don't think taking a few days to think about it will help, especially because everyone's already working on their overly long analysis videos on this shit. So I'm going to be that guy who just tries to walk you all through the process of figuring out what the fuck he just watched. So, for those of you who don't know, the concept of this show I actually thought was kind of interesting. And so the concept is that this is a world where God has a lifespan, and when God dies, it's time to pick the next God. And to do that, angels will go down and pick someone who they feel could be God, and then they have to do this in a death game, which immediately makes no sense. Because why would you want the ruler of all existence to be the most ruthless, violent winner? I'm sure someone will have an explanation, but I feel like you have an inherently problematic concept when your idea is needing to find a good person to rule the universe, and you are picking, and you do it through a fight. There's just something not right with that concept right there. And the next thing that sort of happens is that, like, our main angel waifu chick, Nase, picks this dude who's about to kill himself. And I'm interested in that. I think I'm somewhat interested in how anime represents depression. And I thought that this could have been a really interesting insight to that. Why does she pick him? Why? A lot of things. But no, apparently all of the candidates for God have to be in the middle of killing themselves. Why? Why? This is not to knock people who deal with depression and are suicidal, but I don't think someone who is in that state of mind really is who you should be looking to rule reality. And again, if they went into it more, like, maybe you could have justified it, but this is one of those shows where we waste a lot of time talking without really saying anything. There's a lot of time explaining about how powers work, the rules of the game, this, that, but I never feel like I'm learning anything important because none of this really goes to whatever point the show is trying to make, which I'm just sitting here still wondering what the purpose of all this was. I feel like the show wants to have an interesting message about happiness or joy or finding meaning, but it gets lost immediately. Like our protagonist, this guy Mirai, great metaphor there, just calling him Future. A lot of people really hate this guy. I don't, because there's just nothing there to hate. He's literally just this, like, always miserable, depressed, wet blanket. And I mean, obviously so, he has a very fucked up past, and I understand why that would lead him to the mental state he is, but then it's just kind of immediately forgotten about, and the show becomes him whining, wanting to feel happy. Like, if you're trying to explore depression and how we get through it, simplifying it that much doesn't do anything any good. And the other problem is no other character acts as a foil to this concept. You have a love interest who is beyond bland, who has all her problems solved in one 15-minute segment, and then just turns into like his little puppy dog who's just always yapping, "Oh boy, I love you, Mirai, oh boy, oh boy." You have a villain whose plan and motivation don't go in contrast with the hero at all. Like, the villain in the first arc is just this total mess of, like, crazy, what the fuck am I watching? And then he gets taken out, which I respect, but then no one who comes in his place ever really gets used effectively. We meet a kid who is suicidal and getting suicidal people to kill themselves, which is interesting, but Mirai isn't the one who deals with it. He never even really talks to the kid. What a waste. You get this scientist dude who, I'm so fucking sick and tired of the nihilistic atheist scientist character, but he could serve a purpose in the same role, but he doesn't. Once again, him and Mirai have all of 2-3 interactions, and that's it. The show doesn't do anything with anything it sets up or builds to it. It always just tries to go straight into thriller action, which at times is okay. There is some good action here. There's some good ideas for tense situations. But about halfway through, the animation budget just gets completely thrown out, and the colors get really ugly, and the characters are always off model, and they really like showing you the main girl from the angle of her ass or breasts. That's weird in a show this dark. And so then it's like, so then immediately everything is just talking head, so I immediately mentally check out. It doesn't help that the mid-break little cutaway before the commercial break would happen is the rules running by, which go by so quickly, Crunchyroll subs can't keep up with it, and half the episode isn't subbed. But what's bad is I could still follow it, not because I can understand what they're saying, because nothing fucking happens in this shit. And so then you get to the finale, and the suicidal kid becomes God, which, if we built to this, could have been interesting. If you took time to justify and explain the reasoning behind things in the show, that's fine. But the show wanted everything to stay mysterious. Fair enough. God is often in media an abstract concept. But then in the last episode, everything is just spoon-fed to you. But even then, you're not learning anything. I don't feel anything when the crazy shit in the finale, I'll fucking tell you, when he just decides all of life doesn't need to exist or is meaningless or something. Again, I feel like for how much time in the last episode we spend just watching him not moving, because there is almost no fucking animation in the last 2 or 3 episodes of this crap. But like, why not spend time showing how we got here? There's like a bit where he sees all the suffering in the world and how he wants to save it. And the reason, I guess, I'm working all this out as I talk. I guess, like, because his logic was originally the only way to help people is just let them die. He said, like, if I destroy all of existence, then that helps, I think. And so he does it, and just existence ends. Okay? I don't feel anything because this world makes no sense. I didn't like any character. So what's the point? Like, there's no debate with this kid. Why does existence then exist? It's not like we then get the other end side of this. Like, it's something like Bruce Almighty, which Bruce Almighty took 2 hours. This took 24 episodes. The sort of point at the end is the reason God doesn't directly intervene. Spoiler alert for a 20-year-old movie. The reason God doesn't intervene is because ultimately it does have to be up to you to make a life for yourself. There are problems with this message. I will not say there aren't. As someone who's not religious, there are things I really can't always accept about that concept. But when put it in the context of how that movie's shown it, I at least understand it. I don't really understand what the point is to this guy ending existence besides just he can. And it's scary, but because I never understood what the point to any of this was, or why anyone would think this is a logical way to go about conducting anything, it's meaningless and it's shallow. And it just feels like shock value, because this was written, the manga of the show is written by the Death Note people, and Death Note is fine. I haven't watched it in a long ass time, but I remember liking it. But it seems like with this, they wanted to recapture what they did right there. But I don't think they really thought any of their ideas through. They just thought people like Death Note because it was fucked up and it was over the top and it was crazy. But I feel like for this concept and the ideas in it, you needed to sit down and really think things through. I'm not against something that ends sadly. I'm not against the idea of media that ends with the end of the world. It's not really media I like to consume. Not that I need everything to be happy, but like, it's just that the concept of like the world ending has no interest to me in media. So that's already a strike against it with me. But like, you need to take the time to justify it. And because the very aspects this show was working on never functioned correctly, there is just no show here. And yeah, it's just fucking awful. Like, if you liked it, okay. But for me, this was just really bad and terrible, and I hated it. Give me your thoughts about it in the comments section below. And yeah, I don't have an ending stinger because I literally just watched this and I'm now rambling. So, click to like, click to subscribe, and at least we have Ranking of Kings in 86 to finish in a review.